Land of the Rising Gun. The ghost of the past. The dusty street shimmered under the midday sun. Martha, her face kind and serious, walked towards the center of town. Her dark hair, streaked with silver, was pulled back in a tight bun, and a simple silver locket rested against the dusty rose of her dress. A basket of food for her husband, Sheriff Jedediah Stone, swung gently in her hand. Suddenly, a bank robber burst from the bank. It was Caleb "Cal" Blackwood, lean and agile, a cocky smirk twisting his sharp features. Loot spilled from his hands. His dark brown eyes darted wildly, catching sight of the approaching sheriff. In a moment of sheer panic, Cal lunged, grabbing Martha. A cold, nickel-plated gun pressed hard against her temple.
"Drop your gun."
Cal's voice, laced with a chilling, almost confident smile, cut through the shattered peace.
"I won't hurt her. You've got my word."
Terror flashed in Martha's intelligent eyes, but she found a desperate strength.
"No, Jedediah, don't! You can't trust him."
In that agonizing moment, Jedediah's deep-seated belief in a man's word led his weathered hand to move. Slowly, he lowered his Colt Peacemaker. Cal Blackwood laughed, a harsh, triumphant sound, and fired. The shot ripped through the air, hitting Jedediah. Jedediah, fighting the encroaching darkness, forced himself up, stumbling towards his own horse. He clambered onto the saddle, spurred the animal forward. The faint echoes of Martha's cries spurred him on. As he pursued them, Cal fired a shot behind him, the bullet whistling past Jedediah's ear. Jedediah couldn't return fire, sickened by the thought of hitting Martha, his mind racing with the desperate contemplation of shooting Cal's horse. Another shot rang out, closer this time. The blood loss was too great. His head swam, the sounds of Martha's last fading screams echoing in his ears. He pitched forward, losing consciousness, falling from his horse. Days later, Jedediah awoke in a bed, his body screaming with pain, his mind a fractured landscape of memory. The first word on his lips was,
"Martha!"
The townsfolk, trying to be kind, told him he wasn't well enough, that they had searched everywhere. But the fragmented images of Cal riding off with Martha, her struggles and her screams, burned in his mind with a terrifying clarity. He remembered her kicking, fighting him, then nothing but the dust. He just knew they had searched in the wrong direction. Only a few weeks had passed, yet to the wounded man, the shadows felt like decades. Jedediah, still weak, rose from his bed. His lean, wiry frame was a testament to his resolve, his kind eyes now lined with a profound weariness. He would find Martha. He would find California. This was where his trail truly began, leading him through lonely nights. The glow of a campfire his only companion as he ate simple beans and drank coffee. The mournful, haunting notes of his harmonica drifted into the vast, quiet wilderness, playing a tune he'd named Jedediah's Fire. Its melody carried the whispered words of his heart.
"See you soon, see you soon, see you soon. By the light of the stars, the sun, or beyond the moon, I'll see you soon."
His decision to search in a different direction was tragically justified when he encountered a surveying crew. They were a rough-and-tumble lot working near their makeshift town of miners and hands. Their faces grim, they told him of a woman's body found not too far from their camp, her locket still around her neck.
"Some bad dudes worked and hung around here,"
They warned, adding,
"Maybe the man you're looking for is holed up here, or maybe the next town over, Redemption Gulch."
The devastating news hit Jedediah with the finality of a hammer blow, yet it also brought a grim clarity to his purpose. Martha was truly gone, and the trail now pointed with chilling certainty to Redemption Gulch. He was on the right path, no longer searching blindly, but hunting with a shattered heart. His journey continued. Redemption Gulch. Jedediah Stone rode into Redemption Gulch. He was a lawman running, not from danger ahead, but from the haunting shadows that trailed behind. Jedediah Stone rode into Redemption Gulch as the first light touched the dusty street. He was a man who had never backed down from a fight, a lawman who faced every threat head-on. Yet he arrived in this quiet town a lawman running, not from any possible danger that lies ahead, but from the haunting shadows that trailed behind. The small town of Redemption Gulch was just waking. Outside the town hall, Eleanor, the sheriff's widow, struggled to straighten a crooked sign. Her dress was a simple, dusty blue-gray. Even from a distance, Jedediah could see the shimmer of tears on her face as she hammered the last nail into the wood. Sheriff wanted. Since her husband's passing, and with no one else in town willing to take on the dangerous job, she'd been doing her best to hold things together, acting as interim sheriff while mourning her loss and searching for someone to take on the role permanently. Jedediah drew closer. Eleanor, wiping a stray tear with the back of her hand, couldn't help but think, maybe God just answered my prayers. As Jedediah reined in his horse near the town hall, Eleanor looked up, her gaze meeting his. Her voice, though still carrying a hint of recent sorrow, held a note of hopeful practicality as she said,
"Howdy, stranger. If you're looking for a room, this job comes with one."
Jedediah, slowly dismounting from his horse, his movements carrying a weariness that went beyond the trail, replied with a polite nod,
Hi, little lady. The room, perhaps. The job, perhaps not.
He paused, his eyes meeting hers.
"Are you hungry, big fella?"
Eleanor asked, a hint of a smile touching her lips.
"Maybe we can have some lunch and talk about it."
Unforeseen complications. Over a simple midday meal, both Jedediah and Eleanor laid bare their recent pasts, finding a quiet understanding in their shared grief and loneliness. It became a routine. Eleanor bringing lunch to the makeshift sheriff's office, sharing not just food, but unspoken comfort. It was during one such lunch that the quiet of Redemption Gulch was shattered by a raucous brawl spilling out of the saloon. Not just two drunken cowboys, but a younger, meaner-looking man was the clear aggressor, throwing wild punches at a more bewildered local. Jedediah rose instantly, his movements betraying a competence that hadn't been evident in his initial weariness. He swiftly and decisively moved into the fray, his presence alone enough to startle the brawler. As Jedediah moved to disarm the young man, a sneer twisted the aggressor's lips, the face, the smirk, the restless, dark eyes. It was impossible. Yet here he was, as if drawn to the echo of Jedediah's haunting tune. Jedediah realized that this was the same Cal Blackwood that killed his beloved Martha.
Hey, Silas. What about our deal?
He spat out, his eyes flicking towards a shifty-looking man lurking in the saloon doorway. Silas's face paled visibly as Jedediah, unfazed by the outburst, firmly took the young man into custody. As the dust settled and the subdued local was helped back inside, Eleanor watched Jedediah, a quiet admiration growing in her eyes, now mixed with a flicker of unease at the strange exchange she'd just witnessed. It seemed, without either of them fully acknowledging it yet, the job had indeed chosen Jedediah, and perhaps brought with it unforeseen complications. A dangerous alliance. Days turned into weeks in Redemption Gulch. Jedediah, without formally accepting the title, had become the de facto lawman, his quiet competence earning the respect of the townsfolk. The shared lunches with Eleanor continued, a silent language of understanding blossoming between them, a fragile hope beginning to take root in their weary hearts. The young bank robber, Caleb Blackwood, remained locked in the town's small jail, a simmering resentment in his dark eyes. However, not everyone welcomed the new dynamic. A local man, Silas, whose possessive interest in Eleanor festered alongside his resentment of Jedediah, often stirred trouble with veiled threats and resentful glances, adding a simmering tension to the town's quiet facade. Unbeknownst to Jedediah and Eleanor, Silas's resentment had curdled into a dangerous alliance. Under the cover of darkness, Silas, using his knowledge of the jail's weak points from his time cleaning the town hall, quietly slipped a file to Blackwood. A few nights later, the cell door creaked open. Blackwood vanished into the night. The next morning, Jedediah found the empty cell and a gnawing unease settled in his gut. Eleanor, remembering Blackwood's outburst in the saloon, voiced her suspicions about Silas. Jedediah, piecing together Silas's strange behavior and the timing of Blackwood's escape, felt a grim certainty solidify in his mind. Silas was involved. Then, one dusty afternoon, the unease in town escalated into terror. Blackwood reappeared, swaggering into the bank with a renewed confidence, clearly emboldened by his escape. The scene that unfolded moments later mirrored the nightmare that had haunted Jedediah for years. A robbery, a panicked escape attempt, and Eleanor, who had been walking up the street to meet the sheriff for lunch, was caught in the crossfire, a gun held to her head. The sight of the woman's terror, the gun pressed to her temple, was an uncanny echo of Martha's fate. Blackwood's demands echoed the ghost of the past, a chilling reminder of Jedediah's devastating choice. But this time, something was different. The costly lesson of his past had been etched deep into his soul. The duel and redemption. The robber's voice, thick with desperation and a youthful arrogance, barked the familiar command. "Drop your weapon, old man. They say you were fast, back in the day, but I'm faster. Let's settle this, Sheriff. A duel, just you and me." He pressed the gun tighter against Eleanor's temple. "You even twitch, and she's dead, you hear me?" The chillingly familiar threat hung in the air, a cruel echo of Jedediah's past, but now laced with the specific taunt of a gunfighter seeking to prove himself. But Jedediah kept walking. He moved with a grim purpose, each step deliberate, his gaze fixed on the threat before him, as if the chaos around him had faded into silence. What in the hell is he doing? Why isn't he stopping? Cal said to himself, his youthful bravado suddenly laced with real panic. He's supposed to back down. Everyone backs down. He's bluffing. He has to be bluffing. The echo of Martha's terrified plea,
"No, Jedediah, don't."
might have flickered in his memory, but it no longer held him captive. With each step he took, the Colt peacemaker in his hand began to rise, a slow, steady ascent that spoke of a man who had learned a devastating lesson. The land of the rising gun wasn't just a phrase, it was a brutal truth, etched into his soul. There would be no surrender this time, no second chance for tragedy. The barrel aligned, and the sharp crack of gunfire split the tense silence. A single shot. It wasn't a killing blow. The costly lesson Jedediah had learned was not just about being fast. It was about the burden of taking a life, even a necessary one. He had the skill to put the young robber down for good, and no one in town would have blamed him. But the thought of another death on his conscience, even a justified one, was a burden he would no longer bear. The bullet grazed Cal's temple with deadly precision, ripping away skin and knocking the young robber unconscious before his finger could tighten on the trigger. The threat was neutralized in an instant, and his gun clattered loudly onto the dusty, hard-packed street. The sound of the clattering metal was the only noise, sharp and final. Jedediah lowered his Colt peacemaker, his gaze fixed on the woman before him. He moved the distance between them in 2 long strides, his expression a mask of grim relief. Eleanor didn't speak. She just blinked, the trauma of the gun barrel against her skin giving way to the shock of the gunshot. She finally reached up and touched the spot on her head, then threw her arms around him, burying her face into his chest.
I thought I was Martha,
she whispered into his shirt.
No, El,
He murmured.
not today. Not ever again.
Jedediah gently eased her back, his hands resting firmly on her shoulders. His gaze swept the street, fixing on Cal's gun where it lay on the dusty ground. He quickly picked it up, pocketing it with a practiced movement. Then he knelt beside the unconscious robber, checking the precise bloody furrow across his temple. The kid was breathing.
Doc Miller. Get Doc Miller out here right now. It's a head wound, a bad graze.
Jedediah's voice boomed, cutting through the stunned silence. His eyes then found Gus, who was stepping out from the general store. Gus, you're officially deputized. Secure this scene. Stay with the prisoner until the doc clears him for transport. Then get him to the lockup. I'm taking Eleanor home. Gus nodded, his face grim but resolute. Understood, Sheriff? I'll handle it. Jedediah stood, took Eleanor's arm, and started walking her away from the chaotic scene. Behind them, Gus was already moving with purpose, the first sign of order returning to the street. The true treachery. Eleanor, now safe at her home just outside of town, caught her breath. Back in Redemption Gulch, Jedediah's brow furrowed. That man, Eleanor said softly, her voice still trembling slightly. When you arrested him at the saloon, he called out to Silas. And after he broke out of jail, I saw Silas acting jumpy, avoiding your gaze. It must have been him who helped him escape. Jedediah's gaze hardened, the pieces clicking into place.
An inside job?
He murmured, a grim understanding dawning in his eyes. As he looked back towards town, a moment of contemplation washing over him.
I need to go talk to Silas. But before I do, I need to talk to you.
He paused, turning his gaze back to Eleanor, his expression softening as it met hers.
I've been thinking about what you said, about me leaving.
He continued, his voice rough with emotion.
You're right, Eleanor. We're both getting old, and death will find us one way or another. But until then, perhaps we can find a life of love, together.
Eleanor's gentle smile was his answer. Jedediah's gaze then hardened again. He had unfinished business in town, the reckoning with Silas. With a final, resolute nod for Eleanor, he turned towards his horse, the setting sun casting long shadows across the buildings of the town. Mounting his steed, Jedediah rode back towards the fiery horizon of Redemption Gulch, the need to settle unfinished business burning in his eyes. The final ride. Jedediah rode to the jail where a grim-faced Silas was waiting.
Eleanor isn't a prize to be won. Cal promised you the badge and the money, but using a man like Blackwood, that's not justice. This here is.
He rode through the night, the blackness giving way to a soft gray, then a fiery orange, and finally, a brilliant gold. As he crested a small hill, the full light of dawn burst over the horizon. He was met by a fast-moving lone rider, a shotgun resting across their lap, a look of surprise and concern.
Hey, little lady, you came a long way and in such a hurry with your shotgun. Were you worried I couldn't handle Silas?
Hey, big fella. No, I wasn't worried about that at all. The shotgun is for you, just in case.
Just in case of what?
Just in case you change your mind about us. I already lost someone, and I'll be darned if I lose you.
Knowing the feeling all too well, Jedediah Stone laughed, a sound free of shadow for the first time in years.
The world's got a lot of hard miles left in it, Eleanor.
Then we'll ride 'em together, Jedediah. That's all that matters.
Sure, you're right.
They turned their horses, heading home, riding together off into the rising sun, over the land of the rising gun.
We fight until we've won, in the land of the rising gun. Got bad guys on the run, in the land of the rising gun. We believe we're second to none, in the land of the rising gun. riding off into the sun. In a land of the rising gun. 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 In a land of the rising gun.